Hello students, in this video I will teach you chapter number 1 from unit 3. The name of the chapter is Tabby's Tablecloth. I will read out the chapter line by line and explain it to you. Further, in case there are doubts, you can ask me. I'll start with reading the chapter and explaining. On the 20th day of March 1775, Tabitha Tarbill, a slender girl, was walking along a country road. She had a basket of eggs in her hand. She seemed to be in a great hurry and looked anxiously as she went, for those were dangerous times. The date was 20th March 1775, and further a character has been introduced. The name of the character is Tabitha Tarbill. She is a slim girl and she was walking on the country road. She had a basket of eggs in her hand and she was actually in a hurry. She wanted to reach her destination as soon as possible because that time it was actually dangerous. Why? We'll get to know further. Tabitha, or Tabby as she was called, lived in Concord, Massachusetts. She was a bright-eyed girl of 14, full of vigor and patriotism. Tabitha's nickname was Tabby and she lived in a place called Concord in Massachusetts. She was a very bright-eyed girl. Her eyes were very bright and she was 14 years old, full of energy and patriotism. Patriotism means your love for country. Tabby was agitated and angry too by the rumors that British were coming to Concord. They were coming to destroy the supplies stored there. So basically Tabby was very upset and angry. Why? Because the Britishers were coming to her town so that they could destroy few of the belongings that were there in the houses of people that the people owned. In nearly every house, something valuable was hidden: gunpowder, axes, tents, guns and cartridges. The cannons were hidden in the woods. So the things that I had just mentioned, they were the valuable things, very important things that every house owned. And also there were cannons that were hidden in woods. Cannons are actually something that you should Google so that you understand. Just Google cannons and look at the picture, you will understand what it is. A guard of 10 men patrolled the town at night. The brave farmers were getting ready for what they felt must come. So now, because they wanted to protect the belongings, there were 10 security guards who used to patrol, as in take rounds in every street of the town to make sure that no Britisher is there at night. And the farmers who were there, they were very brave and they were mentally and physically preparing themselves to protect their belongings. There were Tories in the town who gave the enemy all the information they could gather. Tories are spies, detectives. They used to give information to the outside people, to the enemies of the town area, so that they know where everything is kept. Therefore, much caution was necessary in making plans. So because there were Tories, there were spies and detectives, the people in town could not trust anybody. So they had to make their decisions very carefully, and so that the plans, they don't reach the Tories, and because obviously then further the information will reach to the people outside, which are the Britishers. Passwords and secret signals were used. Messages were sent from house to house in all sorts of strange ways. Because they were detectives or spies, everybody had to be very careful while they were making plans and telling everybody, the rest of the people of town about it. So they used to use passwords and secret signals, and the messages were sent in weird ways from house to house. One such message now lay hidden under the eggs in Tabby's basket. The girl was carrying a secret message from her uncle to Deacon Cyrus Hosmer, who lived at the other end of the town. So now, because they used to pass messages in strange ways, one message was being passed, and that message was hidden under the eggs in the basket that Tabby was carrying. She got this message from her uncle and she was going to Deacon Cyrus Hosmer, and he lived at the other end of the town, which means far away. She had been employed several times before in the same way and had done her job well. So before also a lot of times she was given this work of passing the message from one place to the other, and she had done the job very well. Everybody was happy and impressed. Suddenly Tabby's cheeks turned pale, her heart gave a thump as two men came in sight and stopped suddenly on seeing her. Now, while she was anyway walking, she was anxious, she was conscious also, and suddenly she saw that two men were coming towards her, and after looking at her, they stopped. So that made her conscious and she got scared also. They were strangers, they were people she did not know. Although nothing in their dress indicated it, the girl quickly knew that they were British soldiers. So their appearance basically gave her an idea that these two men, they were Britishers from whom they had to be safe. They exchanged a few whispered words, then they came forward. So after they looked at the girl, they whispered something to one another and then they came forward towards her. "My pretty lass, can you tell me where Mr. Daniel Bliss lives?" asked the younger man with a smile. So the younger man, he had asked the girl where Mr. Daniel Bliss lives. Tabby was sure now that they were British. Bliss was a well-known Tory, but she showed no sign of alarm. She answered politely, "Yes, sir, a little further down." Now, Bliss was the name of a person who was a Tory. He was a detective or a spy. So, and these two Britishers, they were looking for the same person. So she did not actually show them any expression or indication that she actually knew who they were. So she quietly had politely answered that he lived a little further down. They went on, never dreaming that the innocent girl was soon going to get the better of them. She hurried away to Deccan Hosmer's home and handed over the message. Then she added the news that two strangers were in town. So actually these two men who came from outside, the Britishers, they could not even imagine that this girl was very smart and very clever. So what did she do? She had hurriedly reached Deccan's place and gave the message that was supposed to be passed on, and further she told him that there were two strangers in the town. "We must know more about them," said the Deccan. He turned to his wife and said, "Send her with some eggs to Mrs. Bliss. Tabby can look around while she rests and gossips over there. We must keep track of Bliss's activities, for he is a Tory and will do us harm." So Deccan had decided that they need to know more about the plans that the Britishers make. So he had asked his wife to send some eggs to Mrs. Bliss, and while Tabby will be there, she will hear some conversation and gather some information. This was his idea. Coming to the Tory's house about noon, she could smell roasting meat and baking pies. So when Tabby had reached Tory's house, she could smell that the meat were being roasted and the pies were being baked. Stepping softly to the back door, she peeped in and saw Mrs. Bliss and her maid cooking in the big kitchen. They were too busy to notice the little spy who slipped round to the front of the house. So Tabby had arrived at their house from the back door and she peeped. Peeped means looking secretly inside, but they were too busy to notice because they were cooking. So she had moved to the front door of their house. What she saw made her suspicious. In the dining room, a table was set in great style with the best china and a fine long tablecloth. So when she looked into the dining room, she saw that there were special arrangements made. There were new utensils and there was a long tablecloth, and the arrangement was done in a unique way. Usually it was not done that way. Still, another peep through the living room windows showed her the two strangers with Mr. Bliss. She again peeped into the living room and Mr. Bliss was there with the two strangers she had met earlier. Unfortunately, they talked in too low a tone for a word to reach even her sharp ears. Now they were at a far distance, so she could not hear them because they were talking in a very low voice. "I must know what they are planning. I'm sure it's bad and I won't go home till I find out," thought Tabby. So Tabby, because she could not hear anything, she thought to herself that she needs to know what they are planning and she is not going back home until she gets to know about it. Marching into the kitchen, she presented the eggs with a message from Madame Hosmer. So Tabby reaches the kitchen and she passes on the eggs with the message from Madame Hosmer to Mrs. Bliss. "They are mighty welcome, child. We've unexpected company for dinner," said Mrs. Bliss. Mrs. Bliss tells Tabby that they have unexpected guests for dinner. Can I help, ma'am? I'm quite good at beating eggs. Besides, I'm tired and wouldn't mind sitting a bit if I'm not in the way, said Tabby. So, because Tabby wanted to know what plans they would make, she told Mrs. Bliss that she could help her with beating eggs. And anyway, she was tired because she had walked a lot, so she would not mind staying for a while and then going back home. She further adds that she could stay if it is not a problem for Mrs. Bliss. But you are in the way, said the old maid. We don't want any help, so you'd better be stepping along home. So the maid is the servant. She tells her that she is actually disturbing, so it's okay if she goes back home because they don't want any help. Picking up her basket, Tabby marched out of the kitchen with her nose in the air. So now she had picked up the basket and she moved out of the kitchen. But as she passed the front of the house, she could not resist another look through the open window. As she leaned in, something moved under the long tablecloth that almost swept the floor. Suddenly, out popped a grey cat's head. Then the cat came up purring to meet the newcomer. Before she moved out of the house, she could not resist, so she had peeped into the room, and from there she saw that something moved from under the table, and it was a cat. The cat got to know that there was a newcomer at home, so it came purring to meet her. Do I dare to do it? What will happen to me if they find me? But how wonderful it would be if I could hear what these men are plotting, Tabby thought to herself. Hiding the basket among the bushes, she leapt lightly in, while the cat sat on the windowsill calmly washing its face. So Tabby desperately wanted to know what these men were talking and planning and plotting about. So she had actually hidden the basket in the bushes, and she quietly got into the room and she had hid herself under the table. And at that time the cat was sitting on the windowsill rubbing his face. Tabby's heart began to flutter. It was too late to retreat. The poor girl could only make herself as small as possible, quite hidden under the long folds of the tablecloth. So now, as soon as she got under the table, she was actually scared also, and she thought that it was too late to actually come out of that place and go back home. So she could not do anything. She had actually occupied a very small space under the table so that she could not be caught under the long folds of the tablecloth. But by the time the guests were called in, Tabby was calm again. So once the guests had entered the room, she was again calm. For a time, the hungry gentlemen were too busy eating to talk much, but soon they were ready for business. So at the start, nobody talked, they were all busy eating, but finally, they were ready to talk about business. They drew closer together and spoke in low voices. So they actually came closer and they started whispering. They did not talk out aloud. However, she heard enough to prove that she was right. The newcomers were Captain Brown and another junior officer of the British Army. They had come to find out where the supplies were stored and how well the town was defended. So basically, she could, even though they were talking in low voice, she could hear them clearly, and her doubt was actually correct. These guys were Britishers and they wanted to know where everything is kept in the town. These people won't fight, will they? Asked Captain Brown. Of course they will. They will fight you to death, answered Mr. Bliss. So now, one of the Britishers, whose name was Captain Brown, he had asked Mr. Bliss if the people would fight. But Mr. Bliss said that they will definitely fight till death. The captain swore. He gave a stamp that brought his heavy heel down on Tabby's hand as she leaned forward. So the captain had swore, and while he swore, his foot actually went down on Tabby's hand, and she had leaned forward. She was actually hurt. The blow nearly forced a cry from her. She was so hurt because Captain had actually put his feet on her hand that she was almost about to cry. Though faint with pain, she bit her lips and never stirred. But she quietly bit her lips and she did not say anything. When she could listen again, Mr. Bliss was telling the visitors all he knew about the hiding places of the gunpowder, the cannons, and other things the enemy wished to seize and destroy. So basically, the next thing that Tabby had heard was that Mr. Bliss was telling the Britishers about where everything was kept that they wanted to take away with them or they wanted to destroy. Just as they were preparing to leave the table, Tabby was overcome by a sudden sneeze. She thought she was lost. She hid her face, expecting to be dragged out any moment. So while the discussion was over and after everybody was about to leave, Tabby had actually sneezed, and she thought that now she is going to be caught and she would be dragged out of that place where she was hiding at any moment. "What's that?" exclaimed the officer. "It came from under the table," added Captain Brown. A hand lifted a corner of the cloth. So now the officer asked what it was, what the sound was about, and Captain Brown told that the sound came from under the table. So he had taken his hand down so that he could remove the cloth from one corner and see who it is. A shiver went through Tabby. She held her breath with her eyes upon that big brown hand, but the next moment she could have laughed with joy, for the cat saved her. The cat had come to doze on her warm skirts. Now when the cloth was raised, thinking she was to be fed, the cat rose and walked out, purring loudly, tail straight up, with its tip waving like a flag of truce. As soon as Captain Brown was about to remove the tablecloth from one side, Tabby got really scared, and she knew that today she was in trouble, she will be caught. But she was actually saved by the cat because it was sitting on her skirt, and as soon as the cloth rose, the cat thought that it was time that it would get food. So it rose, which means it got up and walked out. So everybody thought that it was actually the cat and nobody else. "It's only the old cat, gentlemen, a good beast and luckily for us unable to report our talk," said Mr. Bliss with a sigh of relief. So Mr. Bliss told that it is just a cat who cannot tell anybody about their conversation. So Mr. Bliss was happy about it. Soon after this, they left the room and the three men, the two visitors and the local Tory, set off for Boston. So after this conversation was over, the three men, they left for Boston. Then the spy crept out softly, jumped over the windowsill and ran away as fast as her stiff legs could carry her. So after all of them left, Tabby came out quietly from under the table and she climbed out of the window and she ran away as soon as she could. By the time she told her tale, however, the British soldiers were well on their way to Boston, so they managed to escape. But the warning was given and Tabby received great praise for her hour under the table. So before Tabby could actually inform everybody, the British soldiers had already left for Boston. So it was actually late, but anyway, when she had informed others, they had appreciated her for her hard work and for her courage. The people had time to move the valuable supplies to other towns nearby. They got their cannons ready and their minutemen had them trained on the enemy. Those brave farmers meant to fight, and the world knows how well they did it when the hour came. So finally, even though they could not think of a lot, but they had actually moved all the valuable items to the nearby village area, so that when they come they will not find those items where it was actually kept before. So the villagers were very strong and they knew how to use their brains when it was actually needed. Much later, when the fighting was over, the dead buried, the wounded cared for, and the Tories punished, Daniel Bliss's property was taken over by the government. So now the war had taken place after the Britishers had reached there. So after it was all over, the dead people were buried and the people who were actually hurt, they were taken care of, and the Tories, they were all punished. Tories are spies again. And Daniel Bliss, his property was taken by the government. Many of his things were sold out at an auction, and most of his belongings were sold out in auction. Auction, you'll get to know the meaning when you look into your books. Tabby's uncle bought the tablecloth and gave it to her, saying, "There, my girl, this rightly belongs to you. Thanks to your quick eyes and ears, we were not taken by surprise, but sent the redcoats back faster than they came." So Tabby's uncle had gifted her the tablecloth that was there in Bliss's house, and he told her that this is a gift for you, it belongs to you. It was actually your courage that made them catch hold of the Britishers, otherwise it would not have been possible. Tabby kept the tablecloth carefully, displaying it with immense satisfaction wherever she told the story. So now she kept the tablecloth, and whenever and wherever she had told about this story, she had actually displayed the tablecloth with a lot of pride. After her, the tablecloth was actually kept safely by her daughter as a token, or you can say as an award, of her mother's bravery. In 1861, Tabby's tablecloth saw another war and made an honorable end as a box full of finest lint and softest squares to lay on the wounds of soldiers at war. So another war had taken place, and at that time also this tablecloth was of use. After the war had ended, the tablecloth was laid upon the wounds of the soldiers. So that's it for the chapter. I hope all of you have understood whatever I taught. Please give it another read, and if there is anything you don't understand, you can feel free to ask me. That's it for the video and chapter. Thank you so much for your patience, all of you.